William had a, again, very medium start out of the Affinity deck. Spire of Industry, Mox Opal, Free Memnite, Vault Scourge paying 2 life.
Let's see what Bryant's got in his turn 2. So, he's just going to take out William's creatures. That's
Bryant going Ritual into Grape Shot, 1 damage to each of the creatures. Clear the board, which is very good. The only reason William would willingly pay 2 life on the Vault Scourge holding up the Mox Opal is if he's holding like a Galvanic Blast.
Right. I think that it's interesting. The play that Bryant just made of just, unleashing the Grape Shot is not necessarily something that like everyone would do immediately, but Bryant, after playing, thousands of matches versus other decks with Storm, knows how important it is to just buy yourself time. And this version of Storm has a bunch of Passion Flames, so those cards in his graveyard, he's going to very easily be able to cast later in the game. So buying himself extra turns is really valuable.
Yep. Bryant, very, very proficient at this deck, as we mentioned. Just knowing these really, really intricate lines is very important for him.
Oh, yeah. Yep, looks like he's going to go for end of turn Gifts Ungiven. He is very likely to have a win next turn as long as the rest of the cards that he's keeping in his hand are functional.
Yeah, and this is where the real redundancy of this deck comes in. You basically get 4 similar cards in this situation, and you get what your opponent considers the 2 worst of them, right? But you have a Past in Flames in there somewhere.
Right.
So this Past in Flames is going to be able to get you back whatever your opponent doesn't give you, flash back your Gifts Ungiven, do the same thing over again, and just keep going over and over and be able to churn out a big Grape Shot.
Yep. I think that, let's see, so 3... If Bryant has a cost reducer in his hand, he almost certainly has the win on his next turn. If he doesn't have one, it's going to be pretty hard for him to win from this spot. I think he might be able to, but it's also possible that he might not have enough spells.
Yeah, the cost reducer is really important in this deck.
Right.
It doesn't quite make everything free, but it almost does.
All right, that Electromancer probably will wrap it up, I think. Yeah, he's bringing out the cards representing Storm Count and what 2 colors of mana he has. Once that happens, the opponent is almost always dead.
Yeah, especially so in these style of Storm decks, because again, the redundancy is just so high. You're not running off of what percentage are my draws going to be able to get me the cards that I need in like the Legacy versions, right? This deck, very straightforward. You play your Rituals for 1 mana. You play your Past in Flames, replay all your Rituals, replay your Grape Shot.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice too. He's able to. Oh man.
Double splice.
Yeah, he spliced twice, so he was able to play Desperate Ritual, splice it on another Desperate Ritual, and then he repeated it again, and then play Desperate Ritual, and now Past in Flames, and he has almost certainly more than enough spells in his graveyard. He's got 5 more Rituals in his graveyard. He's got a Gifts Ungiven. He's got a Manamorphose as a sleight of hand. I can't see a world where Bryant loses this game. Yeah, Williams is counting up the cards.
Yep. William knows what's going on. We've played enough Modern Magic to know that once Bryant Cook gets the cards out, we're not long for this world.
No. I think Bryant cast Past in Flames with something like 8 red mana in his pool, 5 Rituals, a Manamorphose, a Gifts Ungiven, and a Sleight of Hand in his graveyard with the Grape Shot too. So, yeah. That was all she wrote. Very easy win for Bryant there. So going into game 2, let's see what they got packing on their sideboard.
I got a couple Thoughtseizes on Williams' side. Very good against this deck. Spell Pierces are okay. They're nothing spectacular. You don't want to try to be on the reactive plan against a deck like this. Grafdigger's Cage, again, is okay against this deck. And a card that I believe I know what it does.
Are you talking about the Stain the Mind in the sideboard? Yeah, that's a Convoke Cranial Extraction, really. So
yeah, that's what I thought it was.
It costs 4 and a black. That's Convoke, so you can tap creatures to reduce its mana cost for the creature's color or just colorless. So Vault Scourge would actually be able to make it, Vault Scourge would actually make it cost just colorless mana. And it is Cranial Extraction. So you name a card, and then you get to search your opponent's hand, graveyard, and library for copies of that card, and then exile them from the game.
Yep. That's really, really powerful in a matchup like this, especially because we can get probably this turn 2 fairly consistently. You know, if we get really, really good hand, we might be able to play it on turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, cranial extraction effects are often good versus some versions of Storm that have, you know, like one particular win condition. Only issue is that Bryant will basically have copies of either Grape Shot or Empty the Warrens if he wants it out of the sideboard. I don't know if Bryant is going to bring in the empties, though. It's not usually something I'd really care about in this matchup, but it's it's interesting. Stay in the Mind might actually, if Bryant doesn't bring in empty and William is able to draw Stay in the Mind and resolve it, he might just win the game on the spot if he names Grape Shot.
Yeah, I think we end up always bringing in some copies of Empty the Warrens against decks because a lot of people are packing forms of Graveyard Hate, and I think if we're on the mono Grape Shot plan, we really need to be able to utilize our graveyard to get lethal Grape Shots.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. So you're probably right that Empty is likely to come in some number.
I'm not going to end up relying on it, but I think we want a copy of it, you know, and then we have Bolts and a Braids and like a Wipe Away in the sideboard, which are also really, and a Shattering Spree, which is,
yes,
you know,
Shattering Spree versus the mostly artifact deck. Very powerful.
Yeah, I'd be slightly inclined to bring that in here.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, looks like they sideboarded pretty quickly. I think both of them know what's up. This matchup gets played quite often in any modern tournament you go to. You know, Affinities, as we said in round 1, mainstay in the format. Almost always going to play against one copy of Affinity in any modern tournament you play that with like a large number of rounds. And Storm definitely is, I guess I would consider it tier 1. It certainly does put up some pretty good results, mostly through pilots that are particularly good with the deck. But, I mean,
Paul Muller is one of the very proficient SCG Storm pilots. You'll always see the man somewhere around the top 32.
Oh yeah, no, I mean he has a win. He has an SCG open win with that deck.
Yep.
Has a lot of, you know, team top 8s and top 16s and 32s with the deck on his own. He's definitely very proficient with it. So,
Bryant, I'm not sure if Bryant has checked his hand yet. I know I have a few friends in the community that are very, very into watching and waiting for your opponent to finish his mulligans before you do when they are on the play.
Yeah, no, that's certainly true. I think the way that this is shaping up, I'm assuming that
William mulligans.
Yeah, William mulligan. Bryant looked at his hand, kept, and then is just keeping an eye on William to see how he reacts to his opener. Possibly get a small read on some of the cards that William might be packing. But I think that Bryant can assume a few things. Definitely some copies of either, you know, a counter spell, one-mana counters with Thought Seizes. A lot of Affinity players play either Stubborn Denial or Spell Pierce, and then maybe some Thought Seizes. But it looks like this hand is
pretty traditional Affinity hand. I think I see Plating, Ornithopter, or Signal Pests. I think a Galvanic Blast.
Can you see any lands in William's hand? It's a little hard for me to see.
Maybe one.
Because if he has no lands,
there might be. I think his mana sources might be like something along the lines of Springleaf Drums. So if he's got creature into Springleaf Drum, that still is fine.
So let's see what he's got. Oh,
Ornithopter and Opal.
Yeah, so he needs to draw really a land or a 0 to. Ooh, that's not good. This is not going well for William. Kept a little bit of a sketchy hand, and his draw step was not useful.
Yeah, I think William probably needed to go to 5. I think he overvalued more cards in his hand. I think a deck like Affinity can very easily operate on just 5 cards.
Yeah. You just need to make sure your hand is functional. Giving Bryant, you know, extra turns in this spot is just so bad. Oh, yeah, it's... Well,
this is not great. We do have the Galvanic Blast to be able to take care of this. There we go. We just needed another artifact to be able to trigger our Metalcraft.
Yeah. Okay, so he can play a 1, which is probably going to be Springleaf Drum if he has it.
I think if we... Oh, all right. Vault Scourge is good.
Okay. So our Opal's on now.
Yep. Galvanic Blast the Goblin.
Yep.
Pass turn back. That was okay. We needed that there. I think if we let Bryant untap the game is likely over.
Yeah, I agree. I can definitely agree with that. So top, bottom off the visions.
Yep, I think I saw Bryant putting a land on the bottom.
Makes sense.
We have another enabler here, probably. Manamorphose.
He might have topped
An enabler?
Yeah, he might have topped, like, an Electromancer and then Manamorphose into it, maybe? He is adding red-blue.
We are bringing out the Storm cards, too. Those are Noxious Revival.
Right. I wonder...
Ooh, so we just Noxious Revival the Goblin back to the top of our deck, but we need another card draw spell for that.
It looks like... Oh, so he's going to cast Grape Shot on this turn. Get rid of those artifacts so the Mox Opal's turned off again. Because we can Noxious Revival the Electromancer to be able to draw it for the next turn and then be able to do what we need.
Yeah.
So
I think Bryant has 2 Gifts Ungiven in his hand, which a little clunky at this stage of the game.
But I mean, if the Electromancer is able to survive the next turn cycle, that's going to turn it on, and then that's going to pretty much convert to a win. And even if the Electromancer dies somehow, you just need to draw just another land, and then both gifts are turned on, and Bryant's 19.
We can just gifts again for Past in Flames, 2 enablers, and a Manamorphose.
Right. Yeah, so he just drew naturally. Oh, so he had the land already. Okay, so he's probably just going to end of turn gifts. Or is he going to do it now?
He might do it now. So Bryant fetching a Scalding Tarn. We're going to go search our library for an island or a mountain.
Actually, now that I think about it, I actually kind of like this. Because he's basically going to play around a counterspell from William by casting this now. And since he has a second copy in his hand, even if William has like Thoughtseize as his disruption, he's able to just cast it again the next turn and just keep going on. This way, William's not able to play like a 0 artifact and then be able to spell pierce the Gifts Ungiven if Bryant tried to cast it as an instant on William's turn.
Yeah.
Let's see what he gets.
So Gifts Ungiven, search your library for 4 cards with different names and reveal them to your opponent. Your opponent chooses 2 and puts them into the graveyard, and you put the rest into your hand.
Oh, man. So it looks like Bryant picked up a Past in Flames, a Desperate Ritual, a Pyretic Ritual, and a Shattering Spree. Good old, single red, destroy an artifact, and it has Replicate for red. So you can make copies of it for as much red mana as you got. It turns out Bryant has plenty of red mana.
Yeah, the ritual is just giving him much more mana. Just too great. At this point, he doesn't even need it. Has 3 red lands, so we can just Shattering Spree all 3 of the different artifacts we want to.
Right, yeah, Bryant, unless William has some way of... Probably needs to either play something like a Rest in Peace or a Grafdigger's Cage to be able to really stop Bryant from...
Yeah, we don't have Rest in this deck, so it's just the 1 Grafdigger's Cage.
He's got a Now Spellbomb, I guess, would work too, but it doesn't look like he has that as his play.
2 mana, Steel Overseer. So this is what we needed roughly around turn 1-2.
Right. I think this is way too late. Bryant's able to... He has a bunch of different options. If he thinks that he can win on this turn, he can just make a bunch of mana and then try to win with Grape Shot. If he doesn't think he can win on this turn, he can just... Oh, so he's going to, looks like, put the...
Goblin Electromancer back on the top of his library.
I think so?
Depends on whether or not he has another enabler.
Looks like he's, yeah, as you said, just put the Electromancer back
during
on
his
top.
upkeep.
Yep. So,
Draw his card, draw the Electromancer for turn, fetch a Scalding Tarn, play our 5th land. I'm going to tap 2 for the Electromancer and have 3 open lands. Yeah, this is a good spot to be in. Bryant Cook shocking here, indicating that he's pretty much going for it, locked in on attempting for the kill.
Right. Yeah, and he's got, double Ritual in his hand, Past in Flames in his graveyard. I mean, even if he somehow doesn't find enough spells to win, which is very difficult to do from this spot, he still has Shattering Spree in his graveyard, so he can just blow up all of William's cards and leave him with Spire of Industry and an Inkball Nexus versus, a grip full of cards and an enabler in play.
So Bryant utilizing 1 mana and the cost reducer off of Goblin Electromancer to cast Pyretic Ritual for 3 red mana, following up with a Desperate Ritual for 3 red mana and a Manamorphose, adding 2 colors of any color to your mana pool. He electing to add a blue, which I think says to us that we are going to probably cast a Gifts Ungiven at some point.
Right. Yeah, he's got access to gifts, access to Serum Visions.
So we flashback past In Flames, and that's what we're going for right now?
I think so.
Okay.
It looks like he's probably just going to try to use the Manamorphose to get all the blue mana he needs. The rituals can develop all the red mana, and I think William is just trying to count up and see if he's just dead with just the spells in Bryant's graveyard.
Yep.
All right. And Bryant very swiftly defeats William. This matchup is certainly not good for Affinity. If you talk to anyone who has experience with this matchup, Storm is favored by a significant amount. It's just a little bit faster than Affinity, and Affinity only has a few cards in its sideboard that can really disrupt it, and Storm has some incredibly powerful sideboard options, with Shattering Spree being the best.
Yep.
So I guess, are we going to be able to get someone else as a backup, or do we not have that option? Okay. So let's see. If you were playing this tournament, what deck would you want to play?
I'm the ridiculous kid who always shows up with Thoughtseize in his deck, so I probably would have been on the Mardu Pyromancer list. I built it sort of hastily in anticipation of not doing commentary today. Just, kind of mess with it, see what it's like, and I really like the list. I think the deck's very strong. I still think we have a really terrible Tron matchup, even though we have mainboard Blood Moons.
Yeah, it's...
I can literally probably play a deck with 4 Fulminator Mages, Ghost Quarters, Blood Moons, and just still lose to Tron.
I know.
I don't think I can ever beat that deck.
Yeah, it's always frustrating. I'm in a similar boat where I've often played either something with Cryptic Command or something with Thoughtseize in it, and all those decks are just not well positioned versus Tron. They always, just have a bunch of mana, and then all their top decks are just these 7 and 8 mana colorless cards that you just don't have counter spells for.
I actually watched one of my friends go to Time against a Tron deck, and in turns, the Tron deck having 10 mana Ulamog on the floor, taps his 3 Tron lands, casts a Karn, and my friend flashes in Torrential Gearhulk, flashing back Cryptic Command, and he countered Karn, bounced the Ulamog back to the guy's hand, and didn't have enough mana to redeploy either of them, and then he untaps his Damping Sphere, which is really strong, to be able to do both of those things, untap, play a Damping Sphere. He probably would have had a line to be able to win the match because he drew another burn spell, so he had Lightning Bolt Helix in his hand, but his opponent natural claimed the Torrential Gearhulk. So,
oh well.
Yeah, there wasn't much that we could do. We didn't have enough red sources to be able to double burn spell and then ask for a concession because Tron had turn 5.
Yeah.
Right? You would have put him to 3, and any Snapcaster Mage or burn spell off the top basically wins the game.
Right.
So...
that happens, though.
Yeah.
It's all right. Yeah, I think if I was playing... I think I would like to play Jeskai. I played that deck at the last regionals, but I played a version that was a little bit lower to the ground, like Geist Traff and Spell Queller. I really want to try playing the version that has Teferi. That card seems awesome, because...
can confirm, very awesome.
Yeah, so obviously, it's taking over Standard, and a lot of people are playing it more in Modern.
Yeah, I think in the most recent MTGO deck lists I've seen, anyone who's been playing the blue-white variants, blue-white-red, there's been 2 Teferis in their lists.
Right, yeah, it's really, really powerful, especially with the fact that you have so many 1 and 2 mana spells, very strong, and especially with Search for Azcanta, the ability to be able to activate Search on your turn and then untap it to activate it on their turn.
Yep.
Just buries them in cards. You're drawing 4 cards a turn, 2 of which are your spells, versus their 1, you just demolish people with that type of card advantage, which is a mainstay in something like Standard, where card advantage matters a lot, but in Modern there's some decks that just kind of somewhat linear, so that card advantage can really bury people.
Yeah, I think against any of like the Mardu or Jund decks, like stuff like that is extremely powerful.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I'm trying to grind you out with Liliana the Veil +1 we each discard a card, and you're like, sure, which of the 4 cards I just drew this turn am I going to discard?
Yeah, right.
Don't care.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, Teferi is awesome. I really want to try that deck, but
Teferi's price tag's a little restrictive, you know.
it is. It's a little bit. I mean,
You know, for modern players, it's not too bad. They're pretty used to overpaying for ridiculous pieces of cardboard.
yeah.
But I think for something that came out fresh like this, we're expecting our Damping Sphere prices. You know, $2-3 for a really, really good card.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm gonna pay that.
Yeah, I'm
But
not really interested.
$45 for a Planeswalker I'm only gonna play 2 of, and you're trying to tell me I can't play Jace the Mind Sculptor anymore?
Nah.
Yeah, I'm a little. I don't know if I'm with that.
And I was so excited to have my boy Jace back in Modern.
I was
too.
excited to have Jace back in Modern. I don't even play blue cards, and I was excited to have Jace back in Modern.
I know.
I played Bloodbraid Elves, right? So I was always the natural predator of the Jace the Mind Sculptor, so I'm all right with him. And I
Right.
always thought he was fine for Modern. And as we've saw in Modern, everything else is just too powerful for Jace.
Yeah, it's just those expensive spells that are sorcery speed. Sometimes they're just not powerful enough, and especially the fact that it's really vulnerable to just a lot of cards in Modern. Just the fact that if you want to get card advantage with it, you have to brainstorm, and then they just have a lightning bolt, and then it's just naturally beaten.
Yeah, I think the more quote-unquote lightning bolts we have have increased exponentially. You know,
Yeah.
we have now with Mantis Rider. Mantis Rider's a phenomenal lightning bolt on a stick.
Right. Yeah, that
We
too.
got Bloodbraid Elf back. We have actual lightning bolt. We have Dreadbore now. Dreadbore was not a spell around when Jace was around.
That's true. Yeah, it's tough. Like Jace, even though it is probably the most powerful planeswalker that they've ever printed,
That's not even remotely close.
but
Like,
yeah,
I guess we might be able to talk about Deathrite Shaman in this conversation now, because
Right.
honestly, like, I think if they just printed him with like a legendary subtext, I think he might have been
Yeah.
accepted. I think everyone would be like, yeah, that's probably right.
yeah. Oh, we got a backup match. Nice.
I don't know. I see a Kataki War Wage, so we have
So,
Affinity on camera again.
We have no. Or maybe. Well, the opponent is got a lot of white cards in his sideboard. I'm curious.
I
if
think
he's
we're
got
on some
color.
form of a mono white deck.
Oh, maybe. I definitely saw a worship. It's got engineering explosives. Oh, I think this is this might be Green White Value Town. I think I saw a Kusali Pride Mage in the sideboard. But then wait. But if there's a Kataki, wait, why would there be a Kusali Pride Mage in the sideboard? Well, let's find out.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
Is it green white taxes?
Yeah, green and taxes. Yeah.
Well, I guess it is still kind of green white value town.
Yeah, it doesn't have like the value stuff, but it just has all of the
Yeah,
Death and Taxes engines.
we do have voices, Eternal Witnesses, Sphinx. You know, all of those things do stuff towards our value-wise,
right.
but we don't have the coursers, the trackers.
No,
you know,
this
the
is-
really the big dumb green creatures.
Yeah,
is what we'll call them.
This is definitely a Flicker Wisp deck, is what I would
Yeah.
call it. You know, there's a lot of cards in this deck that work well with Flicker Wisp. You know, you do something like Eternal. Imagine you cast Collected Company. You know, you Eternal Witness back your Collected Company and Flicker Wisp to Eternal Wisp, and you get it back, and you get back another Collected Company after you cast it again.
Yeah, Blade Splicers, great Flicker Wisp target.
Yep,
You know,
Finks
Kitchen
gets
Finks.
Yeah,
All
it
of
gets
these
reset.
things. You know,
Yeah.
and just being able to protect your creature from a removal spell. Another just fantastic thing to be able to do.
Right. So it looks like
Ooh, looks like we're on Tron on the other side.
Yes.
It's like Eldrazi Tron with chalices, walking ballistas.
Yep, definitely looks like it. And we've got
It's like Tron's also up a game at the moment.
yep, looks like it. So I'm assuming that would put Adam on the play this game.
Yeah, I think being on the play is super powerful with a matchup when you're playing cards like Noble Hierarch, Birds of
Right.
Paradise if you're playing them.
The other thing too is that one of Adam's best avenues to victory is Leonin Arbiter plus Ghost Quarter. Just destroy Anthony's lands before he really can assemble anything that would allow him to cast stuff ahead of schedule, like
Yeah.
either Tron pieces or a bunch of Eldrazi temples.
Yeah, wow, this is actually... I don't want to say this is a bad matchup that much for the green-white deck, because we do have 4 Ghost Quarters and a Tectonic Edge on the side of green-white.
Yeah, really depends on either if Adam can be disruptive or if he can put a lot of pressure on quickly. Because I think that, as the game goes longer, Anthony's high end is just way higher. He's casting Karn Liberated, he's casting All His Dust, he's casting Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger.
Reality Smasher.
Yeah,
Smasher just by itself is such a huge threat.
Yeah, or even something like Endbringer is, larger than all of Adam's creatures and deals 1 damage to a lot of, there's a lot of good targets for Endbringer to just nuke every turn.
Yeah, Walking Ballista is actually really good against this green-white deck.
That too.
Flicker Wisps, Noble Hierarchs, Thalias, Blade Splicers,
right.
Eternal Witness, all have 1 toughness.
Oh, yeah.
Just be able to put a 2/2 Walking Ballista on the floor and be able to kill 2 creatures. Really powerful.
Yeah,
this
for sure.
is going to be a very good turn for Adam, though. He does have a Flicker Wisp in his hand. He'll Flicker Wisp with Blade Splicer, put another Golem onto the floor, and then you just have 10 power on board.
That's true.
It's not. Okay. So we're just electing to go with Collected Company.
Yeah, that if he's passing here with 4 mana, then this has to represent Coco.
Yeah, I believe he's shocked for the Temple Garden, so I don't think anyone doesn't know this Collected Company's coming.
Yeah, pretty easy to sniff out, but I don't think that Anthony really has any way of stopping it.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Anthony's untapped yet. So Adam, I think, was really, really contemplating the Collected Company on his turn.
I don't know if there's anything in his deck, though, that really rewards him for doing it as a sorcery versus doing it as an instant.
No, nothing really specific other than, again, the Leonardo Arbiter Ghost Quarter plan.
Right.
But we don't have the Ghost Quarter or the 5th mana to be able to do that.
Right.
Reality Smasher is extremely powerful.
Yep.
Turn 3 Reality Smasher. Don't have Tron assembled. We played a Rock on 2 and then a 2-mana Eldrazi Temple, and we're able to deploy an early Reality Smasher.
Adam is fortunate that Thalia wasn't played earlier, otherwise that Coco would be a little bit harder to cast.
Yeah.
It is a little awkward in this green-white deck to have Thalia and Coco in at the same time. Actually, I wonder if you even want Thalia against Eldrazi Tron. It's okay, but it's pretty small.
I think on the play, it's really, really good, because I was looking up sideboarding morning notes for a lot of the people who played Humans versus Tron, and they like the Thalia on the play because it can set Tron back enough to where you could start playing your Meddling Mages and attacking them more properly.
That makes sense. I can buy that.
So I like the Voice of Resurgence trade. Adam electing to throw away his 2/2 in order to get a creature whose power and toughness is equal to the number of creatures you control. And we have 2 Flicker Wisps in our hand. So we're able to Flicker Wisp the Blade Splicer to add another creature and make our XX much larger.
Right. And another nice little thing about Blade Splicer that could come up depending on what Anthony has in his hand is it actually makes a colorless golem. So it allows Adam to have creatures that would survive All His Dust.
Yep. Adam going to go post-combat, play a Voice of Resurgence and a Flicker Wisp. Flicker Wisp is going to target the Blade Splicer. Blade Splicer is going to re-enter the battlefield, get a 3/3 colorless golem token, and then it's going to be Anthony's turn. Anthony staring down well beyond lethal.
Oh yeah, Adam's got all sorts of creatures on the battlefield. He has things that are resilient to the actual wraths that are in Anthony's deck. If Anthony actually has a way to be able to generate enough mana, I don't think that Anthony can come back from this spot.
Yeah, I think as much as I like the Reality Smasher play, we know that Collected Company is coming down, and that Adam's going to add 2 creatures to his board. Yeah. And if either of those creatures are powerful, then we're too far behind to be able to start catching back up. Because Adam's going to deploy 2 creatures, untap, be able to play 2 more creatures, right? And then he's got a board of 6 to 8 versus a single 5/5.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think Anthony really needed to go for something more of like a Thought-Knot Seer there.
Probably. I mean, he might not have had any of those cards. Reality Smasher might have been the best thing he could have played.
Yeah, it's very possible. That's something I'm not too big on with any of these Tron-style decks, is sometimes your draws are very, very, 7 and 10 drops in a land, or a land, and a bunch of your chromatic cards, and you can't really do anything. Right. It's very similar to, Affinity, whereas, most of your cards do kind of the same thing, but you really need the payoff cards, right? You
That's
need
true.
your Tron lands to be able to pay off for your big dudes.
Yeah, you need a good mix of the enablers and the payoffs. You can't really have too much of either because, if you have too many enablers but no payoff, then you don't have a way to win the game. If you have too many payoffs, you can't cast them because you don't have the mana to do so.
Yeah, again, it comes down to modern matchups, right? If I'm trying playing against a Jund deck, known information, I'm okay with keeping hands that are a little on the slower side. If my hand's like Wormcoil, Karn, Ulamog, I'm pretty okay with this because you're not going to be able to beat me fast enough for me to be able to play these threats. I'm going to be able to play a Wormcoil engine, and you can't beat that 9 out of 10 times.
That's true.
Right? You can kill it, and then if you have the Maelstrom Pulse, sure, you 2-for-1 to yourself. I still have a Karn coming next turn. I still have an Ulamog coming later. I'm going to be able to catch back up and be able to remove a lot of your threats.
Right.
Or like an Ugin. Ugin is so backbreaking in this deck. Like, I've had draws where I played Bob, and I played Goyf, and I played a Skooz, and I played a Kalidas. I just had a versatile set of threats, stuff that can get through the Wormcoil engine because the Kalidas prevents it from truly dying.
Right.
But he just played an Ugin -4 and put his Ugin to 3, and I could never beat that.
Yeah, Ugin's a pretty nasty card in Modern against
It's
a
a
lot
wrath,
of decks.
it's a threat, it's a single target removal spell. It does it all. I'm just so glad Wizards R&D printed it at 8 converted mana cost instead of 7.
I know,
'Cause
right?
if that was a 7 drop,
Oh, dude.
I think we would have to ban a Tron piece.
Oh, man. Yeah, for sure. Oh,
Like,
my lord.
because I don't think you even know if you would play Karn anymore. You just have Ugin at the same converted mana cost,
Ooh, I think...
and you just wrath and kill things.
So this is...
We might have natural Tron.
We do have natural... We have natural Tron with the Expedition map, too, so... I think that if Anthony wants to, he can just, deploy Tron naturally and have the map in play to be able to get any Tron piece that gets blown up by a Ghost Quarter.
Yep.
This is...
Tech Edge not going to be effective enough
No,
in a situation like this.
that's one of the reasons...
We're already going to have Tron.
Right. That's one of the reasons why I know that Tectonic Edge is kind of a generally good card. I actually think that Field of Ruin is just better because it allows you to just blow up a Tron piece regardless of how many lands they have in play. And because you can just have natural Tron with only 3 lands, Tectonic Edge won't be able to disrupt it, whereas Field of Ruin will always be able to do it as long as you have access to 2 extra mana.
Yeah, I generally prefer Field of Ruin a lot against these Tron decks, but I think currently Adam's concession is the fact that we have Leon and Arbiter in our deck.
Yeah.
And Ghost Quarter is just a 1-mana way of being able to destroy a land and prevent them from doing anything.
And obviously, Field of Ruin is bad for you if you don't have the extra mana to be able to pay for your own Arbiter.
Yep. So it makes our Arbiter cost 5 rather than 2 or 3 mana.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a nombo, which it's the reason why he's playing Tech Edge, but for example, just almost any other deck that wants a way to be able to blow up lands, I think Field of Ruin is the way to go.
Yeah. I think our Tech Edge is really consistent to the Celestial Colonnade decks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because once they get to Colonnade mana, you're at the point where Tech Edge is effective.
Right. Let's see.
So does Anthony have combo piece number 2?
He has a
Thought-Knot Seer is good.
That is a strong play on turn 3 with 3 extra mana too. Oh man.
This looks like a lot of lands, Blade Splicer and a Flicker Wisp and a Selfish Spirit.
Yep. If I had to guess, I would assume that...
So I think our choices here are Flicker Wisp or Blade Splicer.
Right.
So if we take Blade Splicer, then he doesn't have a really good Flicker Wisp target other than our Thought-Knot Seer.
Yeah.
Right? Flickering the Thought-Knot Seer is going to be able to draw us a card, and then Thought-Knot Seer is going to come back down.
Yeah, I like taking the Blade Splicer here. It basically forces Adam to have to play either Flicker Wisp or Selfish Spirit this next turn. Not really have a good line of attack either way. Flicker Wisp here, as you said, probably just targets Thought-Knot Seer, but then that just means he gets to draw a card and re-trigger it, take probably the Selfish Spirit or something else.
Yeah, I think... Ooh.
Is he...
So Adam's going to take a look at which Urza's lands we're looking at. I think the target is really the power plant.
But he
I believe, right? The power plant's the one that taps for 3?
He can't activate
no, it's
it.
Tower.
He can't... That's a Tectonic Edge. You can't activate Tectonic Edge right now.
No.
What is he doing? That is not how that card works. I think Anthony is reading it right now, so I think that they're going to find out that he can't activate it.
Yep.
Oh, wait. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he needs one more land to be able to activate
All right,
it.
yep.
And Anthony, now having this information, can very easily play around this. 'Cause
Right.
You don't need more than 7 mana outside of certain situations.
Right. I believe that, if I remember correctly, I think that Anthony picked up another tower with the map. So if Anthony gets a card that he wants to cast for 10 mana, he just plays tower and casts it. And if he doesn't draw a spell that's that much, he can just sit there with his 3 lands and still deploy almost anything in his deck.
Yeah, I like the Selfless Spirit play here a little bit. It allows us to play our Flicker Wisp next turn, targeting the Thought-Knot Seer, to be able to draw a card that we might be able to cast. Like, we might be able to draw a Path to Exile, cast the Path on the Thought-Knot Seer with the trigger on the stack,
Right.
and then the rest of our hands basically lands. So you can't take anything with the Thought-Knot Seer. And then we put him to a 4th land with the Path, or he elects not to get a land out of his deck, which both lines are good for us.
Yeah. So he plays Ghost Quarter and Reality Smasher and gets in.
I think we just have to take 9 here.
Yes.
I think our plan is to Flicker Wisp the Thought-Knot Seer, draw a card, and then we can double block the Reality Smasher next turn.
I mean, that works. I don't know if it's a winning line. I guess it's all he has, though.
Yeah, against these Eldrazi decks, like, sometimes you have to do really ridiculous things that you wouldn't normally do. Like Reality Smasher having the clause of counter a spell or ability targeting it unless you discard a card. Very powerful.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
Anthony using a Ghost Quarter to take out the Tectonic Edge deployed by Adam. It's going to make it so that our Tron lands are protected.
Oh yeah, I mean, I get he didn't necessarily need to do that, but it at least means that the Tectonic Edge is not something he has to worry about next turn, so he can deploy his Tron piece without worrying about a future, Tech Edge disrupting him.
Yep.
And I think, if I looked at this correctly,
I think we just drew a Path.
there's only one Tectonic Edge, so now he just doesn't have to worry about it anymore.
I like that personally. The concession that we know Ghost Quarter is the better of the 2 cards,
Right.
but we want a little something extra.
Yeah. Plus, if Adam draws Ghost Quarter, he's going to be able to disrupt you no matter what. So the Tech Edge is the only one that he needs to have more lands. So getting rid of it now means that he just doesn't have to worry about anything.
Adam did draw a Path to Exile.
Right.
It looks like he's going to go for a Flicker Wisp.
I think he's going to probably Flicker Wisp targeting his planes. Yep. Flicker Wisp his planes, and then that way it'll come back untapped during his end step, which will allow him to be able to cast Path to Exile on one of Anthony's creatures.
Yeah. Neither of these Path targets are great.
He probably has to just block the Reality Smasher, take a whole bunch of trample damage, and then Path the Thought-Knot Seer. I think that's really just his avenue of play.
Yeah.
Not great, obviously, but I think that he just has to live with it. So 10 mana for Anthony. Let's see what he does with it.
Really big fan of the mismatched Tron arts.
Oh man, if it was I've played Tron every now and again, but man, I cannot stand playing with mismatched Tron lands. But
we're gonna go Horizon Canopy. So we're Path to Exiling, targeting the Reality Smasher. It's gonna trigger the second part of text in Reality Smasher, stating that counter target spell or ability unless you discard a card.
Right.
So Adam's gonna go with the Path, gonna discard a Horizon Canopy, and Anthony's gonna search his library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped.
Yep. Getting something you don't see a whole lot, but he actually has a swamp in his deck, I believe, so that he can, if he gets Path, his dismembers don't cost 4 life, they can cost 2 life and a black mana instead.
Yeah, it's also very possible that we're playing something else. Surgical Extraction, another one of the Phyrexian mana spells that we can play off of a swamp if needed.
Also true. And he does have at least one copy of Surgical in his sideboard. Looks like he's tapping 7 for something.
Probably went 6 mana, very possible. Or maybe 3, 6, 8. Yeah, 8 mana for a 4/4 Walking Ballista. That's probably gonna wrap it up.
Almost certainly. I mean, these creatures are just so bad versus Walking Ballista. All these 1 toughness things you just get picked off very effortlessly by it. I'm assuming that holding up the mine means that he probably has something like a warping whale in his hands. Or something. It has
I
to be
think we just
warping
go
whale.
2 more power on the walking ballista, because then we just untap and have lethal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that no matter what Anthony does here, he's just in a good spot no matter what. I mean, he has a ballista that can cover all of Adam's creatures. He has a bunch of mana that he can dump into the walking ballista next turn to be able to pump it up, attack, have lethal, and still just be able to have damage output to be able to get rid of whatever Adam puts into play to block.
So, I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, actually, I forgot about that.
Silence.
Oh, you're right. Oh, good call. Good call. I completely forgot that card was in play. Good call, chat. Good call.
There's another thing that makes me question why we didn't just make our walking ballista bigger.
Yeah, that I do not know. I'm not sure.
We have to have a collected company here.
It's pretty much the only card I can think of that actually matters in the spot.
Yeah, there's no reason for us to attack, leave open lethal like this, because he's just got. Anthony has attack for 8 power currently.
Right. So attack for 8, cast Coco. See what we hit.
Flicker Wisp would be great here.
Yes, it would.
We have a Flicker Wisp. Flicker Wisp, Scavenging Ooze.
Oh, this is a nice one. Wow, that's really good. You can Flicker Wisp the walking ballista, and it'll come back with 0 counters and just be gone. And then we can. I guess we can actually go down to 3 here, and then just use the Scavenging Ooze to just gain some life. Oh, actually, what we could also do if he wants to get a little spicy is he can double block the Thought-Knots here, and then sacrifice the Selfless Spirit to make his creatures indestructible.
Yeah, I like that plan a lot.
Okay, looks like
We go dismember. Look like targeting the Scavenging Ooze.
looks like it.
Okay.
So that must have been what he was holding up last turn, why he played Walking Ballista for 4 instead of for 5.
Yep.
Yep, that Walking Ballista is going to come back in with 0 counters, and he's not going to be happy about it. And Adam was in a rough spot, but he has certainly done a lot to come back in this game. Oh, we're still in combat. Adam is considering if he wants to block the Thought-Knots here or not.
Yeah. I think the block is way worse than it was.
Yeah. It's too bad. Yeah, so it's a Ballista for 5 here. Comes back in with 0. Dead.
Yeah, we really need just another collected company here. Because as much as activating Township would be okay,
I think that
we drew Scavenging Ooze. Scavenging Ooze is decent.
I'm not sure if this is better than. It's possible that Adam could have just not bothered to take a riskier line drawing with Horizon Canopy. He could have just held back his creatures. If Anthony attacks next turn with both, he can just double block, sack Selfless Spirit to make indestructible, pump the Flicker Wisp, trade with Thought-Knots here, draw a card. Both lines of play have some risk to it.
Yeah.
No matter what you do.
He's got a Noble Hierarch in his hand. I think we definitely play that, yeah. That's a much better chump blocker than our Scavenging Ooze or other creature would be.
Mm-hmm. And plus, it gives us the ability to be able to block with 2 creatures, and then... Can we sack Selfless Spirit? I guess we could. Could also double block, although I think keeping the Scavenging Ooze in play is really powerful. It gives us a way to get a creature that's larger than Thought-Knots here and gain some life in the process, which Adam definitely could use a little life buffer. Alright. This is a little tough.
Alright, so Anthony's at 9 now. Two more points would be 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 5. Chump Blaster. So I don't know if Anthony's attacks are all that great right now.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that
Yeah, I think I like this slightly better than Alpha Striking. We have a chance of dying on the backswing if we Alpha Strike.
it's true. It is also possible that last turn Adam was supposed to attack with a Selfless Spirit and then put Anthony to 7. The next turn you'd be able to activate Township and then have 7 power in the air and actually have lethal.
Yeah.
So it's possible that Adam taking a more conservative line might give Anthony another turn to draw something. We'll have to see what happens. I mean, Anthony certainly has a lot of powerful top decks. He's got all the mana he needs to cast pretty much anything he wants. But we can't really see what's in Anthony's hand, so I'm not sure what his follow-up play is going to be.
Yeah, Scavenging Ooze presents a really, really large threat as well.
Yeah,
Being able to almost attack for lethal by itself.
Right.
With the Noble Hierarch Exalted trigger and 3 green sources on our side.
Oh man, Anthony passes back no play. Oh jeez. I wonder if
might have another Dismember.
That's possible. I feel
We have a black source now, so we don't have to pay as much life for it.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd really be into just like passing Dismember. I think there's really no there's very little upside to casting it as an instant. I feel like I'd rather just get rid of the Scavenging Ooze and keep Adam at a low life total, but I don't know. Looks like he's just gonna get in an attack for 4 with the Exalted trigger.
Yeah, this is still a fine attack because next turn we have 5 in the air with the Selfless Spirit and the Flicker Wisp.
Right.
But again, if we attacked with both last turn, we probably we'd be presenting lethal on this swing.
Right. Yeah. You'd basically force Anthony to have some type of instant speed interaction, whether it be Dismember or if he's sideboard and Warping Whale, which we don't know.
I think I probably would be inclined to bring in some Warping Whales. Just the number of 1 toughness cards that we can get rid of in this deck is pretty high.
Yeah, that is true. It is very true. I wonder. I think, if I saw that correctly, I think that actually was a Dismember.
And he's going to take 3 damage or 4 damage here off the Exalted trigger.
Mm-hmm. Oh no! Okay. Draws return.
So the Flicker Wisp or the Walking Ballista is unable to be activated at the moment because of Stony Silence.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Earlier when we were wondering why he didn't just play it for more or just use it immediately, completely forgot that Stony Silence was played on turn 2 in this game. It didn't matter for a lot because he didn't play another artifact until turn 5 or 6. Or was it turn 5 or 6 maybe that the Walking Ballista came down?
Yeah, I'd say about 5 or 6.
Yeah,
we
so
had 4 Tron lands in play.
Yeah, it's like Thought-Knot Seer into Ghost Quarter land, other Reality Smasher, other Tron land, and then other land plus Walking Ballista, something like that. But yeah, that Stony's been in play since turn 2, so it's keeping that Walking Ballista from just, annihilating all of Adam's creatures.
Yeah, without the Stony Silence, this game would be well done.
Right. Oh, most definitely, yeah. Anthony would have won this game several turns earlier if that enchantment wasn't in play, but now we're here, and Anthony still in the tank on his main phase, trying to figure out what he's supposed to do here. This game is quite close.
Yeah, Anthony's, I think, now in a really bad position because Adam's going to be able to activate his Scavenging Ooze 3 times this turn, have a 5/5 Scavenging Ooze, which in and of itself is lethal, right? As well as the Selfless Spirit and the Flicker Wisp attacks, which are also going to be lethal.
Right.
And he's got Gavany Township activation.
Right, yeah, he's got all sorts of avenues of play here. He's also protected from any damage output with the Selfless Spirit, but it looks like
A Collected Company.
Oh yeah, wow, that's probably the most powerful card that Adam could have drawn on his previous turn. Certainly is a nice one here.
Selfless Spirit and a Leonin Arbiter. So that we probably didn't have many other choices because Leonin Arbiter is not all that fantastic on the battlefield.
No.
But a bear in this situation is still very good
Oh, yeah.
because our Scavenge Ooze is going to get bigger, and it makes our Gavany Township much, much more powerful.
Right. Now there's 2 Selfless Spirits in play. I'm pretty sure that Anthony's not playing something like White Mana, Settle the Wreckage, or any other card.
Adam is. Adam's
Yeah.
playing Settle the Wreckage in his sideboard.
Right.
Which I honestly can, I can see a world where we bring it in a matchup like this.
Yeah. Not that he needs it in this spot, though. I was just thinking of anything that Anthony could have to save him from the Flyers, but I don't think that there's any outs. I'm pretty sure that he's just dead right now. Yep, there's a handshake.